Hey everyone, it's Dodgy Yeti here. This video is a bit of a long one, but I tried to cover everything that I would have liked to have known as a new player coming into this game, and everything that I thought that you should know as somebody looking in to either get back into the game or pick the game up for the first time. And like I said, I do apologize for the length, but I think that by the end of it, you will be able to make a good decision on whether or not you want to play the game or not. I have about 500 hours into the game myself. I'm still having fun and enjoying the game. And if you like the video, even though it is ungodly long, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like, maybe a subscribe. I'm going to be putting out New World content. And if you want to know more or at least see more about how artifacts work or what PvP is like, I have videos on my channel. You can go watch them. Uh, the artifact ones are more explained than what PvP ones are. Fair warning, I haven't always had my audio figured out. I think I have it figured out decently now, but if I'm wrong, please let me know. Thank you. Welcome to my channel, it's the Dodgy Yeti. Today we're going to be going over whether or not New World in 2025 is worth your time or not. With that said, let's get into New World and I'll show you around. See you in there. Start off the world itself. I think that's probably the most important place to start off. The world itself is beautiful. It's got a bunch of different areas, sceneries, and it's got all kinds of creatures in it to, murderize and get all your loot from. It's a fun time. This is one of the more normal areas. This is kind of the scenery that you see for like 60% of the game. There's a few other areas that look even more crazy and good, and I love it. We're gonna go show you some of those areas. So this is the Elysian Wilds. It has a lot more like bright colors. It pops very well. A lot of like bright colored enemies and creatures. It is my second favorite. It is my second favorite of any of the areas. And you have hey. This dude is an open world boss. You'll just come across open world bosses that you can defeat. Like here, we'll go ahead and take care of him. Didn't really drop me a whole lot of anything, but sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. The overworld bosses themselves, they can drop you some artifacts and legendaries and stuff depending on where you're at and what their loot bucket is. But we'll get into artifacts later. Next, we're going to go to Ebonscale Reach. This is the world map. It's a decent size. The really cool thing in here is that you see all the green, the purple, and the yellow. It's controlled by factions. It's a faction-controlled area system. The factions gain control of the areas by doing wars and territory fights, invasions, however you want to call it. Now this is Ebonscale Reach. This is my favorite of all of the territories. It's got this Asian theme that's going on with it. It's got all the trees. It's got all the architecture. I love it. And next we're going to go on to Brimstone Sands, which is the desert area. Now this is Brimstone Sands. This is the desert area. It's got like an Egyptian theme to it and everything. It's also really cool. Even though it's not one of my it's not my favorite. It's still really cool. There's a lot of valuable stuff that is in here, and like dangerous enemies and stuff to fight in order to get all of that valuable stuff. So now that I've showed you around and gave you a little tour of what it looks like around here, now let's go to the community. The community is pretty good for the most part. It's not too bad. Uh, you'll have if you go into the chat and ask for help on things, people will come help you. I know I've done it myself quite a few times. That's just kind of how it is. If we go to the chat right here and go to recruitment, you can see all this X stuff. That is people asking for help on certain activities. And for the most part, you'll get 1 to 2 hits on something if it's like very niche like this. The life taker is not a super prominent thing right now because it's been out for a while. So a lot of people have it already, but some people will just go to help out and be nice. One thing about this world is cutlass keys. Cutlass keys, once you get to a certain part as far east as west as you can go, you can kind of see it right here. These little structures right there. Once you cross that dotted line, it's what's known as the free-for-all zone, and PvP Island is what it's mainly called. This area can be a little bit annoying because there's something called a golden coconut that you want to get your hands on every week on a reset. You want to get your hands on it because it is what you use to level all your gear up to the highest level that you can. And being a PvP area, it can be very annoying. You can, especially if you're not a PvP person. I enjoy myself some PvP, so I go there sometimes myself. There's some groups that don't do the most fun thing for like a PvP area, and they will gang up and team on people. This is also only in this small area of the whole entire map. So really, weekly, run in, get your coconut. There's some chests and everything that you can find that you won't be running into as many people, and it makes it a whole lot easier. Now that I've covered the world visually and the community that's here, let's go on to like the combat. The combat is really cool. I'll have some clips up of me doing either PvP Island or 3v3s or what have you, but I'll have some clips up of that. It is a simpler combat system than most and more intense than some. You only have 3 abilities, 7 if you count your heart rune, and then you have your pots. That's honestly not a whole lot, not for an MMO, especially when on other MMOs you look and they have like 2 rows of 20. It's much more simple. It's much more simple than having to remember 20 keybinds. And I like that because I can't remember anything half the time. With this, the part that can make it harder than other ones is just the free fast pace of the combat, at least when we're talking PvP. It can be kind of that way for PvE too, but PvE is much easier to get your movement down than PvP is. Okay, we've talked about the world, we've talked about the community, we've talked about the combat. Next up is the grind, or the game itself, you could say, because that's the biggest part, right, is how the game is. So just like a lot of MMOs or looter games, the fun starts once you reach level 65. And it can be a grind to get to 65, depending on how you do it. The easiest way to do that is to actually go and do all your main missions. If you do all your main missions, you can get there quicker than like logging or smelting or whatever. But once you reach 65, a whole new world of things open up to you. Let's go to activities. Mutated expeditions. Mutated expeditions is where you can get a good amount of gear that you can then use to level up even more. And once you reach 65, there's no leveling up, but like you level up your gear. You can level up your gear. You can also get artifacts from them. What else? There's also raids. The raids and the elite trials are probably the ultimate end goal of PvE. I've done the raid, but I have not done the trial. The raid isn't too terrible. You just got to know the mechanics, just like any other MMO. You have trials, which those can be a little difficult. Like right there's an artifact. You can see that. Then you have solo trials. Whenever it comes to PvP, PvP is technically open to you sooner than 65, but it all depends on whether or not you want to go level up through PvP or if you want to get to 65 and then try to get better gear. Your options for matchmaking PvP is 3v3 arenas and outpost rush. 3v3 arenas are a small arena, like a gladiator style fight, 3 versus 3. Outpost rush is 20v20, and you got to get to 1,000 points. Think of it like domination in Call of Duty. You got flags that you have to capture, and you kill each other and gain points. Kill each other, gain points. It's kind of like that. Next, you have season passes, which every game has a season pass now. So, I mean, it's kind of just expected, even if we don't like it. The nice thing about this season pass is that you can get a lot of really good stuff, and all of the like major things that you want on the season pass are not on the premium side of things. I'm a lame. I bought the premium pass. But like, there's an artifact right there. Dense materia that's needed to get certain items from the gypsum kiln. You get marks, which are their currency. You get certain transmogs and everything like that in here. There we go. There's the other artifact. They normally put 2 artifacts on the season pass, and they're always on the free side. Since I mentioned their currency, I figured I would show you the store. This is the type of stuff that they sell in the store. For the most part, it is not pay to win. The only thing that I feel like you could consider being pay to win is under consumables, these. I don't consider them pay to win, but I do consider them pay for convenience. This is the other for convenience thing, is buying additional gear slot. To kind of show you what that is, so we go here to my inventory. I have so many sheet musics. So this is the gear and everything that I have on right now. And here are all my gear sets that I have. I think I have 6 of them. So the ability to change from build to build on the fly is super, super nice. I do enjoy that about the game. So the other thing to know about the world, and it is crafting based. Well, you have crafting in it, and that can be some of your main way to get gold is either by crafting or by going and just gathering the resources that people need to craft those things. Like here, we will go to check out sulfur. Sulfur sells for 35 for one piece of sulfur, but it takes 5 sulfur chunks to make 1 sulfur. So this sells for, a sulfur chunk is selling for 8 right now. 8 times 5, that's 40. Makes more sense to honestly just sell the sulfur chunk by itself. Earlier I said something about the gypsum kiln and how to get your gear score up or just get better gear in general. So I'm going to show you the gypsum kiln. These are things that are in my inventory on my person right now. And I can go in and I can I can make them gear score 700 if it's just a normal named item, or I can do 725. Okay, so I had to go to Brimstone Sands in order to use the gypsum kiln. This game has bugs. Sometimes stuff doesn't work like it should. That's just part of the game. So if that turns you away, then I understand completely. Gypsum orbs. You can get gypsum orbs every day, and you also have this every week. Gypsum orbs are super valuable. There's the materia. So the materia is almost like an in-game currency type deal that if you get enough, you can exchange the materia for weapons and armor and stuff like that, and it'll always be at 700 gear score. The only thing that is not so great about it is, like with this mace, let's say that, or flail, let's say that everything here is perfect for me. I want mortal refreshments and transient strikes, which those are reduce all cooldowns by 10% on a kill, and your heavy melee attacks deal 23% more damage. Perk 3, it's a very high chance, so you'll almost... I don't think I've ever had one roll without one. But you don't get to control what perk is rolled here. That's the only part that kind of sucks about some of these in here. But you can get some like best in slot stuff for your builds in the gypsum kiln, like grave robber's hat. Best in slot if you need a medium headwear. So let's go way. It's wonderful stuff. All right. Now, I told you I was going to talk to you about artifacts. Artifacts are like the best items that you can get. So like if you look, you can see there's 3 perks here. Now if you go here, you get 3 perks as well. You can control what perk you put on it. But if you look here, because it's not labeled right here, but if you look up at the top, see Finisher Harmony, that is a 4th perk that you get to have, along with, sometimes they have a gem slot, sometimes they don't. But that's what you can have, is you can have 4 perks and a gem slot. Some items roll with that, can't have a gem slot, but that's a little bit too specific. If you go do the hive raid enough, you can get these hive tokens and you can roll yourself some gear here. But like Serenity is best in slot, great sword for the most part. There's a lot of Grace enjoyers. I enjoy Grace as well, but I did a lot for Serenity. So you see, I have my 3 perks right here, and then I have this one that's special to it. I had to use a perk slot for me getting the gem right here. Segue from Serenity to PvP as well. PvP has PvP tracks. And on these PvP tracks, you can get sorts of things. You can get consumables, you can get gear, you can get the salt, which is needed to purchase stuff. You can get your faction tokens. You can get a lot of stuff from there. Something that does kind of suck is that some of the items, some of the artifacts are locked behind PvP tracks. And so you have to grind out the PvP tracks in order to get those items. If you're not interested in PvP, that can be a real big pain in the ass. I like PvP, and it was still a pain. Because Grace was bugged for a while, so there was no second to Serenity. It was just Serenity is best. Now this right here, this is a wonderful tool if you decide to play New World. You can look up anything. So I was looking up Forged Skirmisher last night. Let's just type in Serenity. You'll see how annoying it is. So Serenity can drop from on track 29, 39, and then you don't even get a chance at it until 50, and then you can get it up to 200. So that's kind of how that goes. You can get through about 10 tracks in a day. Like if you don't have anything else going on, you're just grinding that out. It can be a grind. And there's some artifacts that are on that list that are just best in slot. Absolutely what you want for it. If that turns you off to it, I would understand completely. Last, but certainly not least, is the developers. Amazon Games is the people that own New World. Are they the best? Absolutely not. Are they the absolute worst? No. But they are not on the good side of neutral for the most part. They haven't released a good amount of content in a while, and it is something that needs to be taken into account before you play, whether or not you're returning or just brand new. It needs to be taken into account. For example, OPR, Outpost Rush, has had the same map since release. They did not get a new map for Outpost Rush until today. It dropped today. And today is, February 7th? Yeah, that doesn't look very good. And 3v3 Arenas only has 2 different maps. From what I understand, they took a lot of time away from the actual game to try and get it ported on over to consoles. The last season, Season 6, from my understanding, is when New World came to consoles. So I am holding out hope that because now they have it all on console, that the next season after this one will be much, much better. That's kind of it. If you look up New World and like go to their Twitter and read some of their replies and comments and stuff, then you'll see just how a lot of people feel about it. But honestly, it's hard to find an MMO that I enjoy the combat and everything in, and I enjoy the hell out of this combat. So if combat systems is something that you are really picky on for games, I think you would enjoy it. So, yep, and this has been the Dodgy Yeti. If you would, leave a like, maybe a subscribe, tell me how I did on the video. I would appreciate it. Dodgy Yeti, signing out.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love